In this video, I'm going to talk about what limiting beliefs are and how they can get in your way. Let's go. First, I'm going to talk about what limiting beliefs even are. I'm going to share some examples of limiting beliefs. I'll talk about how they harm us and how you can identify your limiting beliefs. And then if you want to go even deeper into this topic, I have another video that you can watch after you watch this one and get the foundation called How to Overcome Your Limiting Beliefs. There are a lot of different ideas about limiting beliefs, and the way I define them is that they're like subconscious programs that are running in your system, in your mind, and they impact how you see the world. The thing about limiting beliefs is that they're a belief, and we believe they're absolutely 100% true. We don't really question them usually, and what happens is that they can limit how we live our lives. They can limit what's possible. That's why they're called limiting beliefs. Where do limiting beliefs come from? Generally, we acquire most of our limiting beliefs as children between the ages of about 0 and 7 years old. So what that might look like is, for example, if you are raised in a family where there's a lot of scarcity of money and you're always struggling to make ends meet, then you might find that you have a limiting belief that money is scarce and very hard to come by and that you're always going to have to scrape it together. So limiting beliefs are these, like I said, subconscious programs. We don't necessarily realize they're running, and very often we inherit them from the environments we grow up in. We also can learn limiting beliefs from intensely traumatic experiences as children, of course, but also later in life. So let's say that we have a particularly awful romantic relationship as a teenager. We might develop a limiting belief that we will never find love, or that we can't trust the people that we're in a relationship with, or that all men or all women are cheaters or liars. These limiting beliefs, the two major places they come from are, one, our childhood environment, our mothers, fathers, families, schools, social groups as we're being brought up, and then also later in life or whenever, more traumatic, intense experiences. That's generally where they come from. So here are some other examples of limiting beliefs. These are some common ones that I come across all the time in the course of working with entrepreneurs. So a very common limiting belief, and one that I struggled with myself, was you have to work really, really hard to be successful. Now you might think, well, that's just true. Well, actually, not necessarily. There are ways to work less hard, to enjoy what you're doing, not to sacrifice yourself, and to still do really well and still make money. But because so many of us grew up in households where we saw our parents working really, really hard to make money, we acquire that limiting belief. Now, that limiting belief might be from your family. It also might be cultural. I don't know about you, but I grew up in an immigrant household. My parents are Cuban Americans, and my dad's family lost everything in Cuba. A belief that he had that I later inherited was that you need to work really hard and also sacrifice yourself in order to make money, to be successful, and also to be safe and secure. So my dad's whole philosophy was built around being very careful with money and acquiring money and socking it away and not risking it. Now that might sound really smart, and to some degree it is. There's something to be said for saving money and all of those things. But when it comes to the point where it's limiting you from getting ahead or limiting you from your fullest potential or possibility, then it's not so positive. It's not so good. Other limiting beliefs that I come across with the entrepreneurs I work with, since I work with a lot of spiritual, heart-based entrepreneurs who are trying to help the world and make the world a better place, something that we come across very often is that if I make too much money, then I'm not a spiritual person anymore. So that's a limiting belief, and that would limit the amount of money that they're able to make. And a lot of times is the reason that spiritual entrepreneurs run into challenges and roadblocks when it comes to making money, and they end up destitute. It's the same with artists, right? There's a limiting belief out in the world a lot of times, that the archetype of the struggling artist. Now we know from history and from just looking around that there are plenty of artists that make plenty of money, but there is that limiting belief that most artists have to be broke. So limiting beliefs harm us because they keep us small a lot of times. They can limit what's possible. They do harm because they don't allow us to live our fullest expression in the world. They don't allow us to be as big as we can be, because when we have a limiting belief, we might not even try something because we'll think, oh, that's impossible. I can't do that. So like an artist might say, oh, I can't make a living as an artist. I'll always be struggling for money, so let me go get this job at a bank. And then they spend their whole lives like miserable, hating their day job at the bank, working long hours or whatever. And they might not get to bring to the world all of their gifts. And so that's one of the biggest ways that limiting beliefs not only harm us, but harm the world, because we don't get to bring all of our gifts to fruition in the world. Another thing that limiting beliefs can do is they can, as we start to get closer and closer to our edges. So let's say that artist says, oh gosh, maybe I want to quit my job at this bank and pursue my music full time or something like that. Well, as we get closer and closer to our edges, they can induce a lot of fear and anxiety. So it can be really unhealthy as well to have all of these limiting beliefs. Another way they can hurt us is that they can hurt our relationships. Let's say that you had a horrible experience as a young person in a relationship. You got cheated on and lied to and betrayed, and you developed a limiting belief that either you could never find love, or that the people that you date are untrustable and that you can never trust anybody. Well, what's going to happen though, even if you have that limiting belief deep down, but on the surface you still want to have a relationship, and you go date and you do the dating apps and you meet somebody wonderful and you get in this relationship, the limiting belief that you have that's subconscious, right, under the surface, might start to pop up every time that person, maybe they stay out a little too late, or you text them and they don't respond right away, and you start to get really upset and you're like, are you cheating? Are you lying to me? Right? That limiting belief might be coming up, and you might even be projecting that belief onto someone when it's not even there. And maybe they're totally trustable, but the problem is you, not them. So limiting beliefs can really get in our way. And you might be wondering at this point, well, what do I do about it? By the way, before I get into the last and best part of this video, go ahead and like this video, subscribe to my channel, hit the little alert button so that you get alerts every time I drop a new video, which I do all the time. So let's talk about how to identify your limiting beliefs. I mean, just by definition, they're subconscious and we're not aware of them. So we have to do a little bit of digging sometimes to get to them. The first way that you can identify limiting beliefs is to look at some of the negative patterns in your life. Look at the things that keep showing up again and again. Like, oh, I can never find anybody to be in a relationship, or my relationships never work out, or I hate my job. I hated my last job. I hated all my jobs, or I can't seem to stop procrastinating, or whatever it is that's in your life that's causing you stress, anxiety, or discomfort. Look for those patterns. Write them down and start to examine each one. Say to yourself, what are my beliefs about this thing? So let's talk about relationships. What are my beliefs about relationships? You might even want to ask yourself, what did I learn from my mother about relationships? Write it down. Okay, what did I learn from my father about relationships? Who else was a big part of my life in my childhood? What did I learn from them about relationships? Then maybe do the same thing if you've got an area that's a problem for you in the area of career. Okay, so what do I believe about career? What are my beliefs, right? Do I believe that you have to work hard to make money? You have to sacrifice yourself to get ahead? Everybody's in competition. What are some of the beliefs you have? And then again, examine what it was like as a child growing up. What did you learn about career from your parents, from your siblings, from your teachers at a young age, from school? How did you relate to school? So you start to dig into your past, especially your childhood, and just taking a moment sometimes to slow down and ask the very simple question, what do I believe about this thing, can create a lot of awareness and clarity. Another example, money. Money seems to be a pretty universal area of a lot of limiting beliefs. Most people have limiting beliefs about money because most of us had parents that had limiting beliefs about money, and we live in a culture that has limiting beliefs about money. So ask yourself, like, some limiting beliefs that I've seen around money are, oh, I know how to make it, but then I blow it. Or I don't know how to keep it, or I don't know how to manage my money, or, other beliefs about money can be very positive. Like, I know how to snap my fingers and make money, but that's much, much less common. More common than that is limiting beliefs that hinder your ability to make or keep money. I hope this video was valuable and helpful for you. And if you want to go deeper into this topic, I do have a video that's all about just how to overcome your limiting beliefs. So I hope to see you over there. You can click on the link below to see that video, and I will see you next time.